Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Come in, come in, come in. This is Tamika's Den. I am Tamika. So, y'all, get on in here, get on in here, get on here in here, all right? Kick off your shoes, relax your feet. You are now in the den, and this is my review recap of American Horror Stories Season 2, Episode 7, Necro, okay? A young mortician discovers that the living are more terrifying than the dead. What are we doing here, y'all? What is going on, American Horror Stories? What is this? Can you tell me? Can you tell me what this is? Can you tell me what we trying to do? Can you tell me why? Why are we here? This episode was crazy, y'all. I'm like, girl, what? What is happening? What are we doing? What is going on? Can you tell me? Can you tell me? Can you tell me? Now, she's a mortician. Okay, we get that. We start out this episode basically seeing, a murder crime scene, you can say, right? Because we seeing blood sprayed throughout the house, right? And we like, what is going on? What's happening here, right? And then we seeing this lady that is laid out on the floor. And, we see that this is like Mansport, whatever, 1978, I think it was. And we have this lady, like I said, we seeing blood everywhere. She's on the floor. So we see the blood on the stove, on the fridge, different specks of it on the floor. And then we seeing like a Lucky Charms. We seeing blood on the dollhouse. So I'm like, who the hell, is killed? So like I said, matter of fact, this is May 1998, right? Let's get it correct. And so then we see a little girl that's coming over to her mama, and her mama is basically dead on this floor, and she's like, with the breast out or whatever, and going to suck, okay, and breastfeed on her mother's damn breast while she's dead, basically. We see that there's a hammer on the floor. So we're like, oh God, what is going on, right? And then we change from that to basically, seeing somebody that's working as a mortician inside of this, morgue, taking care of the body, doing everything that needs to be done, for the body. And I said, okay, listen, I can't do it, okay, but it has to be done. Somebody got to do it right. If you can, God bless you, okay? So, she's basically taking care of this body or whatever, and we see that she's coming afterwards to see the family members that are there at the funeral or whatever. And then we have, her boss come up to her after and say, listen, I ain't gonna lie, for a minute there in the beginning, I wasn't too sure about you, okay? But you have proven that you really take this personal. You put care into it. You put love into it. You put respect into it. And he's basically offering her to get a raise because she does say, we basically changed from 1998 to 2022, and we now in California, and she's basically working there. And she does say, like, I don't get paid enough for what I do, right? And essentially he ends up giving her this raise. So he really does think like, okay, girl, I wasn't sure about you, but you coming through and you doing what you had to do. You do deserve a raise because you do excellent work. So she's actually feeling good about that, and she goes home, and you see that she has this boyfriend or whatever, and she's basically like, coming in a good mood, munching on some food, and she's like, hey, I got some good news today. This was a great day. He actually gave me, credit for the work that I do, and he said that he's going to give me this raise, and she's kissing on him and stuff, and he's like, oh, that's great, what I'm saying? I'm happy for you. And so basically she tells him like, because he said he have to get off to work or whatever, right? That he got murderers to put away. So we found out that he's a lawyer. He's like, I have to go ahead and get to my court. So she was like, listen, it's okay if you a couple minutes late. Sometimes you got to be spur of the moment, do things that we wouldn't normally do. She want to go ahead and get into it and celebrate now. But he's like, I'll tell you what, why don't you go take a bath and some of that, soap that I bought you, and I'll see you tonight, and we could celebrate then. And she's basically like, I already took 2 showers before I left the morgue. And he said, well, maybe I'll just have a sensitive nose because, I'm still smelling that formaldehyde, girl. So I'm like, basically he telling you smell like dead people, okay? So, she's just looking at him then, right? And it's like a little awkward or whatever the case may be, right? But you could tell they kind of, basically opposites, okay, that I guess attracted, right? And so she almost looks like she's a little offended by it. She's basically smelling herself to see if she could smell the smell too. So we then get, her talking with her friends, and first they're like, well, what's going on? What exactly is Jesse doing? Why do you feel like y'all not connecting, and maybe y'all need to go ahead and, go y'all separate ways or whatever? What exactly is missing? Because she's basically feeling like there's something missing. There's something off. They say, they're like headed in two different directions. And she was like, she can't put her specific, finger on it. And she said she knows that he doesn't like her working at the funeral home or whatever, right? And they're like, well, girl, you do be talking to dead people, what I'm saying? Literally, all right? And so they also are saying relationships are about, compromise. And they say, well, what have you done for Jessie lately? She's talking about, well, I do the dishes sometimes, okay? The laundry when I remember. And I did drive 10 minutes out of my way the other day to go get his favorite ice cream. So they like, okay, yeah. And then she said, if you had to choose between, Jesse or whatever case may be in your job, like, which one would you choose? And she basically was like, listen, girl, I love my job. And she was like, Dag, you hesitated. Poor Jesse, all right? So now they kind of feeling a little bit sorry for him. And then she says it's complicated. And they were like, what is going on, girl? Okay, what is the truth? And she just says that she's really good at, being a mortician. She's good at her job. She loves her job. And I mean, hey, sometimes that's hard, for people to find something they love. So if you love it, then I guess, girl, that's good for you. But of course, they can't understand because they like, girl, this is dead people. But she said, actually dead people, talk. She says bodies are amazing and we do all kind of different things. And she was like, see, that's the secret. They're actually interesting after death or whatever. She gives different examples of this woman that started moaning one time, and they was like, well, she's still alive. She's like, no, she was totally dead or whatever. But there's gases, decomposition or whatever, and it comes out through the mouth. And then she starts to talk about this guy who had a damn boner, and she was like, the human body is insane. And she was more like lit up and happy. She said there's always something new to discover, whatever, right? And so she said, and then she helps people, so she feels like she gives them a chance to have their loved ones for a little bit longer, to look at them, one more time. And what she do is important. And they were like, you're getting more excited about talking about dead people than you are about Jesse. So maybe that's the damn problem right there, okay? Maybe he's not the problem, And so, then we see her going over this other guy. She introduces herself. She talks to him. She, says what the cause of death is. She says, hey, you got this hole in your head that needs to be fixed. Okay, I'm going to have to do a lot of work because they want this open casket. And she's like, I'm taking good care of you and your family must really like you. And in the process of her working on this man and talking to him, we have this other guy, Charlie, come pulling in, and he's bringing in another body. And she was like, yo, what are you doing? You're not supposed to just come walking back here, okay? This part back here, nobody is not supposed to be entering into. All right, so he's like, hi, I'm sorry, She said, this is a restricted area. She was like, can you please get on out? So he says, well, I'm Charlie. I'm the new grave digger, okay? And I didn't know. I was just basically bringing her in. I'll get out your way. Didn't mean to freak you out. And he bends down and he starts to whisper something, okay, to this dead person that's in this body bag, okay? So she looking at him while he's whispering to her, and then he go ahead and leave. And she finishes doing what she doing, and when she's coming out, she's like, well, what exactly did you say to her when you bend down and whisper? So at first he's saying, that was between me and her, okay? That's between me and him. That's a secret. He don't want to tell her. So she says, okay, fine, He was basically like, that's private. And so then she starts to, he says that he thanked the decedent for allowing her, allowing him rather to bring her down, right, and to carry her. And she was like, really? He says that he thanked her. Excuse me. So he was like, just letting her know that as far as him coming down there, he apologizes again, it won't happen again. And so she introduces herself and lets him know that her name is Sam. And he's like, hi, Sam, nice to meet you. She says, so what's up with the suit and hat? I guess the other ones that was coming never used to dress like that, right? And she tells him that he got this pimped out ride. So he said, well, I just believe that we should be, professional and look good and look the part and, basically take them on to the afterlife in style. And so she says, okay, that's fair enough. I hear where you coming from. And, you know, she was just like really seeming to feel a vibe from him, like, okay, he's into death and he appreciates and respects them, in the same way that she does, right? I assume that's what she's thinking. And so they start talking about the gods and how different people believe in different things and all of that kind of stuff, right? And so when she gets home, she does take the bath, right, that her boyfriend was telling her to take the other day with this lavender soap that he bought her. And she comes out in this cute little dress and he's like, well, what's going on here? Okay, what's this all about? And she was like, I was thinking maybe we would go out for a little bit. And he was like, well, actually, I'd rather stay in. So they start getting into it. And as she's getting into it with him, she's basically seeing flashes of the guy Charlie, okay? It's like she done got turned on by him and feel more of a connection with him than she do with her man Jesse, okay? So I'm like, okay, girl, we see you. So, when she goes to work the next day, her and Charlie just end up hanging out and talking throughout the day as they're doing this work that they got to get done, right? Whether it's cleaning the coffins or, fixing whatever outside. And they're just talking about how, like I said, all these different people with different religions have different beliefs, how the Amazons did it, how the Egyptians do it. And she's saying she thinks she would rather go, with cremation. He's telling her about 1,005 years ago in China, a woman buried herself alive, right, alongside her dead husband, and she was like, that's a bit dramatic. And he's saying how it's true love. They sitting here eating or whatever, and he's like, what's the most exotic thing that you ever ate? And she was like, I'm not too sure because, my man, he usually don't be liking to try new things. He pretty much keeps it simple or whatever, right? And she's like, well, just because he's telling her just because he only eats certain things don't mean that that's the way that you have to do it, right? You could go ahead and try different stuff. So then he starts playing with her and throwing these jalapeno chips at her, whatever, and she's laughing, throwing it back at him like, stop, and flirting and whatever. And they're just getting all caught up, right? Spending the whole day together, Then she's setting up for this funeral that's coming, and she's like, they went all out for him or whatever. She was like, this guy had a lot of people that loved him or whatever, right? And she said, would your family put on this dog and pony show for you? And he was like, no. He was like, she asked, was they on board with his obsession of death? And he says, I hope so. He said, because they're all dead. All right. So we finding out Charlie done lost everybody, which would kind of make sense as to why he's into death, right? And if she's the little girl that we saw at the beginning, that her mom, got killed in a horrific way, it would make sense why she does too. So this is basically a connection for them, right? And he's telling her this story on how his father was basically cracking jokes with them, and that's the last thing he remembered. They was in this car, and basically there was a bad accident, it was a drunk driver, whatever the case may be, right? And so he was the only one that survived, and it basically gave him a new perspective on life, right? And so he actually says that it was a joke about, a monkey and a hyena, a chimpanzee, or whatever the case may be, right? And he was like, in a way, it was a blessing. So she's basically like, what? How the hell could you think it's a blessing? I don't understand. And he was like, just to have such a close, brush with death, it makes you have a clear focus on how precious life is. So he was like, and how, the living owe it to the dead or whatever, right? To take care of them. And so she was like, well, that I can get, I definitely understand what you're coming from with that. And she was like, I know exactly how you feel. And he was like, really, do you? Did some drunk driver kill your entire family too? You know what I'm saying? So she basically is like, nah, but she was like, in, terms of trauma, trauma could really mess you up more than you realize or whatever the case may be, right? It can have so many different effects on you, and it's very complicated. And so he basically was like, I thought I was talking about, my family here, is there something else going on here, whatever, right? And she says, you know, it really messed with your brain, which is true, okay? And so she was like, yeah, you know, I do have a story. I don't talk about mine ever. You know, I have never talked about it with Jesse or any of my friends, right? And I find that to be real interesting, because not saying that you're going to be all happy and proud and want to talk about something so tragic, you know, all the time and with everybody. But if you are in a serious relationship with somebody, and I don't know how long they were supposed to have been together, I would think that somewhere down the line that would come up and you would be able to confide into them. But nonetheless, it looked like she was getting ready to go into it with Charlie, but then she gets a call where, you know, Jesse is calling her like, where are you? I've been stalling. Remember tonight my parents was coming and you was supposed to be here with us. So she was like, oh man, I'm so sorry. I was in the middle of doing a funeral. She was like, I'm about to leave now. I'm coming. So she tells Charlie she got to go ahead and get out of here, that she got so caught up and she forgot about it. And he was like, go ahead, I could take care of the rest. So as she getting ready to leave, he's like, you know, you was about to start telling me something. And she was like, you know, I'll tell you about it another time, right? And so she hurries up to get back to the apartment, and she comes in and it's dark, and she's basically saying like, you know, oh, I'm so sorry, I'm late, I'm here now. So we just see that she's coming in, and like I said, it's dark, it's candles everywhere, you know. Then she sees damn cereal on the floor, and she basically just goes into a complete panic attack, starts crying hysterically, and then they turn on the lights, and we see that really what's happening was that Jesse was trying to surprise her, okay, and was trying to do this proposal. We then see, once the lights get turned on, that you know, there's cereal on the floor that's saying, will you marry me? And there's roses all around it. You know, initially when she first walked in, we could see somebody walk past her, and then we hear this crash, and then she's getting flashes of everything that happened to her as a child. And so he's basically turning on the lights and telling everybody, you know, to give them a minute, and he's asking her like, what happened, what's going on, you know, talk to me, right? Because he's not expecting this reaction, and he's like, you know, I put the cereal and all of that down because I always see that you keep a box of this or whatever, right? So he's looking at it like, you know, it was something sentimental, whatever, that is her favorite. But in all actuality, she finally opens up to him and tells him like, listen, my mother was killed when I was a little girl, and that was her favorite cereal that she always used to have, and that's why, you know, I basically keep a box of it around or whatever, right? And he had no way of knowing that because she never told him about it. So this was a proposal that did not go as good as, like, he was paying attention and he was trying to do something nice or whatever, right? But it backfired and it came into a whole different way, right? And so she basically says to him, like, I'm all messed up, okay? I'm not normal, and you deserve a girl that's normal. You deserve somebody that, you know, could be there for you and everything like that. And she was like, you know, there's no way that I could get married to you. You shouldn't be proposing to me. And so he's like, no, what are you talking about? I love you. Like, I don't want nobody else. But she goes and she runs out or whatever, right? And so now when she goes back to the morgue, okay, all of a sudden she has this guy come in that's supposed to be named John that's OD'd, right? But when she pulls back the sheet, she finds out that it's Charlie. So she's like, what? I don't understand what the heck is going on, or whatever the case may be, right? And she starts crying and she's rubbing on his face and different stuff like that. And she's basically saying that he's the only one that truly could understand where she's coming from and has experienced similar things that, you know, she has experienced or whatever, right? And she scares everyone, even herself, you know. So she did feel like they had this kind of connection. So the next thing you know, she started looking down at his thing. I said, girl, please don't tell me you about to do what I think you about to do. Please don't tell me you about to do what I think you about to do. And then she does what I think she was about to do. She basically starts kissing on him, you know, touching him, rubbing on him, laying on top of him, you know, crying or whatever have you. And the next thing you know, she proceeds to try to have sex with him, okay? And I just knew that either her boss or her boyfriend was going to walk in on him, but that does not happen. What does happen is he basically starts moving. She gets freaked out. She goes running out the room crying or whatever, right? And then when she comes back in the room, he's not even on the damn table no more. So it's like, okay, what's really going on here now, right? And so when she ran back out that second time after seeing that he wasn't there, she basically throws up, and then she's going knocking or whatever in the area where he be at, and he comes walking out, and she's like, what is going on here? I don't understand. She was like, I just saw you damn dead on the table. What is really happening? And it's like, one minute she's going up to him just happy that he isn't dead and holding his face and all of that, and the next minute she pushes him away and is mad, and she's like, you're alive. And he's like, yeah, I'm alive. He's like, let me explain to you. And she's like, no, I'm not stupid. She was like, how the hell are you standing here alive? You know what I'm saying? You didn't have no post, no nothing. And he was like, look, I screwed up. I'm sorry, you know. And then she was like, what kind of sick prank was that? And he said it wasn't supposed to go that far. She was like, you weren't breathing. So he said, you know, he took some pill. You could find anything online. She was like, and your damn, you know, chest was all cut up and stuff. And he said it was prosthetics that he got from a friend. So I'm like, huh? And he talking about something, I was trying to help you. I said, how, Sway? How the hell is that helping her? So she's telling him he's deranged, you know, and he was like, I'm deranged. She was like, you can call me whatever you want. But the fact is that you was over here trying to sleep with me, okay? You didn't have a problem with it. You thought you was sleeping with a damn dead body, and you just went for it. And you liked that I was dead, okay? And she's like, no, 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 no. And she's basically telling him that he's sick or whatever, right? To be honest, both of y'all are sick, alright? But he says, I know you was scared. I'm scared too. And he was like, don't you see? But no, she don't see, okay? So she was like, there's nothing about this normal. It's not normal for me or you, right? And she says, this is not okay. And she was like, you're wrong. So she goes running away from him. So then we see that she's basically, you know, it's 2 months later. She's working in this, you know, makeup area. Now she's working on living people, okay? She said, enough of working on these dead. She's doing this makeup on this lady. She got all this makeup, you know, on herself. She's telling the lady, you could cry, you could go on the wild, you could do water aerobics, whatever, and it will not come off. It will be no smudges, no, you know, raccoon eyes, none of that. And the lady's basically getting stank like, do I look like I do aerobics? Girl, you get the point, okay? Next thing you know, we seeing like a bridal shower for her. So her and Jesse have decided to say, you know, to get married. Obviously, she done went back to him and say yes, right? And so while she's out doing like the preparations for the wedding and planning the wedding, she actually sees a reflection of Charlie. And then the next thing you know, you have Jesse coming up, and he's like, is everything okay? She's like, yeah, come on, you know, let's go do what we gotta do. So then when we get to this wedding day, you know, she's actually looking sad, and her friend is like, you're the saddest damn bride I ever seen in my life, girl. Okay, do you want to do this? Are you sure that this is something that you want? And she's basically like, yeah, you know, I'm fine. I love Jesse and I want to spend my life with him and everything like that. And she's like, are you sure? Like, it's not too late to back out. She was like, you look beautiful, but you also look pitiful. She said, and you have not been the same. You know, where is my friend that basically always was, you know, drinking, throwing back her beers and having her hair up? She said, it looks like a damn lizard done invaded your body, right? I don't even recognize you. Now you're sitting around with pastels and, you know, drinking tea. And she was like, this is just not you. So, you know, she says to her friend, like, that's not funny. And she's like, I'm not joking. She says, look, Jesse's a great guy. She said, yeah, Jesse's a great guy, honey, but do he make you happy? And she's like, of course he makes me happy, right? And she was like, I just want you to really want this, and I just want you to be happy. So nonetheless, she's saying she is, right? She says she want the picket fix, the boring life, the 2.5 kids. She just want a regular boring life. So she got ahead to this wedding, you know, they giving their vows, they smiling at each other, everybody's giggling and enjoying it. And as he gives his vows, he says he wants to go down this memory lane and show this video of them and how far they came, right? And he says from the first moment he saw her, he knew he wanted to be married to her. So in the midst of him putting on this video, she's like, this wasn't supposed to be a part of it, right? Obviously, this is something he's trying to surprise her with. And he's like, yeah, sometimes we gotta, you know, do things that was not planned, right? Which was what she told him in the beginning. We gotta go off script sometimes, right? And so she's smiling and looking at him. Next thing you know, baby, the feed cut, honey, and said no signal. And then we seeing her on top of Charlie. So they looking and they like, wait a minute, what is going on here? Like, is that Sam? They's like, oh no, she was sleeping with a dead body. Like, what is happening, right? And so then Charlie come walking up in the back, and he talking about, you know, you can't do this. You're not supposed to be with him. You making a mistake and all of this. And she's telling Jesse, like, please, no, you don't understand. She's like, this is a big mistake. And then they're like, okay, so he's not dead because he's standing here living, all right? So she wasn't sleeping with a damn dead person, right? It's not a dead body. And she's like, he's not dead. Obviously, he's standing here. This is just a sick joke. And he was like, yeah, well, whether he's dead or not, you actually slept with somebody else, okay? Like, she's telling him he's delusional or whatever, right? And her man is like, there's a tape of you climbing on top of the damn corpse, all right? So he go walking out, and he was like, dead or not, you still was screwing another guy. So she basically was like, I was tricked, you know. And then he's saying that, you know, for her not to leave, and that he had to do this because he had to prove to her that she was making a mistake or whatever, right? And he was like, you know, she's telling him, you filmed us or whatever, and she says, you know, you are really sick. She was like, I don't want nothing to do with you. He talking about, this is the only way I could save you. I said, really? Because I love you. I said, oh, so you couldn't just call in the last 2 months? You couldn't stop by? You couldn't do nothing but put up the damn tape at her wedding so everybody could see? And she's telling him to leave her the hell alone. So obviously, you know, everything has went to shit. She trying to get a job with this cleaning place, and she telling them all the different tricks of, you know, different products that you use for different things. And he's like, wow, you know a lot. You seem to be really good at this. He was like, you know, half the people don't even know what you got to use to disinfect the damn toilet. And she was saying vinegar. Now, in the meantime, is these girls behind her that's looking at their phones and looking in disgust. So he's saying, give him a minute. And when he come back, he basically was like, we can't have no sex offender here. She's like, I'm not a sex offender. And she's like, you know, any job you could give me would be really, 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 you know, great. I would be grateful for, whatever, right? And he just kind of picks up the folder and moves back and is looking at her in disgust. So of course now she goes and she gets in the car, you know, and she's just crying. She just feels so disgusted. She goes to this shop to get coffee, and people are talking about her in there. She actually sees one of the friends she used to hang out with, and they turning their heads. So at this point, this tape is everywhere, and everybody's talking about her. You know, some people just think she's completely gross. They think she was sleeping with a dead person. Other people that probably know that he's not dead still think she's gross, and they still don't want nothing to do with her. So her life is turned upside down. She can't get no job nowhere. She done lost Jesse and all of this. So she goes and buys a gun, and when she sees, you know, Charlie coming past, she go ahead and follow him back to the damn graveyard. You know, he's sitting here digging, and she puts the gun to his back, and he's telling her, you know, calm down. She's like, you ruined my life. He's like, no, you don't have to do this. You know, of course he's still going on about this connection they had, how they love each other, how he gets that she's angry with him or whatever, and she's like, shut the hell up. You know, he says, you know, she telling him, my friends won't talk to me no more. Nobody will hire me. I can't go nowhere because people think I'm a sex offender. You know, you lied, you tricked me, you put me in this position, right? You still get to go on and have a normal life, and I don't. You messed everything up for me, right? And you out here living your best life. She like, oh hell no. So she was like, it's just not right, and she ain't letting it go down like that, and you need to pay for what you've done. So he's saying he's sorry or whatever, and he's like, please, he was like, can we talk rationally like two adults? I know this is not who you are, you know. And then she's like, look, I want to know why you did this to me. I did not deserve this. And he was like, look, you were trapped, and I was trying to make you be able to see, you know. And she said, well, I didn't ask you for that. She was like, you know, typical man to think they need to tell me what I'm supposed to be feeling and what I'm supposed to be doing or whatever, right? And he's still talking about something. The day his family died, he was so close to death. He had their blood on him, and you know, it took him to another place, and he never felt so alive. It was like he was waking up for the first time, and he wanted to give her the same experience. There was no more pretending. There was no more pretending that the world was fine, because the world is not fine. And when you have that close, you know, brush with death or whatever, that it, you know, shocks you awake or whatever, right? And so he says, I know you had to feel that, even if it was just for a few minutes. And so she says the first time that she did, feel that is actually when she was there with her mother died. And we find out because he was like, I know about your mom. And she was like, you better not say one more word. And of course he does. And he says that she was there with her mom for 3 days, right? And so she is like, yeah, at first I didn't even realize what was going on. She said, I just thought she was sleeping, or she had fell and bumped her head. She said, you know, I done brushed her hair, I done freaking, you know, was feeding her the damn cereal. And of course, you know, trying to get breast milk from her, right? And I was talking to her and laying on her, and it was just mommy and me. And so, of course, to realize later that she was dead and she was never gonna, be with her again. And so, he's telling her like, I would have never judged you, and I wanted to be there with you, and I wanted to show you this connection and all this other stuff. So she's saying, now she sees that she really just wants to be dead and alive at the same time. And of course, that's impossible. Nobody could do that, right? She would never be able to have that. And so then she's putting the gun to her head, and he's telling her, don't do that. And he comes up on her, and he's like, I literally would die 1,000 times for you. And so she says, I could see that what you're saying you really mean, and he was like, yeah, I do. And so she go ahead and shoot him, y'all. She go ahead and shoot him, okay? He falls in the grave that he done freaking been there digging. And then she's climbing on top of him and talking about forever and forever and forever, okay? For 1,000 years. Basically, I guess going back to the story that he told her about the lady in China that she was saying, that's extreme. And basically, they kissing as the damn dirt is falling on them. And that's the way the episode went off, y'all. That was American Horror Stories. Y'all go ahead and put it in the comments, okay? Let's discuss. Tell me what the heck you thought about this episode. What did you get out of it? All right. Put it all in the comments, y'all. Okay, like, comment, share, subscribe if you are so inclined. Okay, till next time. Toodaloo.